Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we've got a brand new deck profile for you here. Today it's TRAPTRIX time. Listen, this is one of my favorite decks in pretty much the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! If you didn't know, it's seriously one of my favorites of all time. I've played it for a long time, even when it still stunk before it even got Sarah. Then I played it after it got Sarah, and now we're playing it again because the new structure deck is awesome for it. It really does a large amount for the deck. Almost all 8 cards in the structure deck were like super helpful for the deck. And so today I'm giving you my competitive early iteration of the deck. Keep in mind, it's the first build, so it's not going to be perfect. We're still going to have to figure some things out. I'll definitely talk about some of that on the way through, so but I'm definitely taking suggestions on this, so feel free to let me know in the comments any ideas you have for certain things you would recommend trying out. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off here, we start with the normal summon lineup. Triple copies of Murm, double Mantis, and triple copies of Putica. You know what? Just for you know, shits and giggles, we'll throw out 2 copies of Diana as well. So 10 normal summons. I know this feels really bad, but to be fair, 3 of them are Putica, and Putica searches you a double summon. So she gets you access to being able to summon any of the other ones out of the hand as well. Other than that, as far as ratios go, the only important thing to note here is Mantis at 2 instead of 3. A lot of people are going to opt to play Mantis at 3, but I felt like at some point we were going to get too close in territory to too many normal summons where we could just draw 3 normal summons, and if one of them's not Putica or it's Putica and Putica gets hand trapped, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. So I wanted to kind of lean off a little bit on that, hedge my bets. Plus, if I have to say which one's the weakest out of these 3, I would prefer Myrmelia or Putica over Mantis in most scenarios. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I did there. Plus Diana, I know you might argue Diana is just a follow-up card. It's actually like a combo piece now, because you summon it out of the deck turn 1 to reset a trap hole from grave that you pitched for a whole Lucia. And then you also might want the second one for later on in the duel for a follow-up play. So I still like it at 2. Those are the main normal summons, though. From there, we move to the 3 Arachnocampa. I love this card. This card is such a phenomenal extender. Plus, it protects your back row from destruction effects, so that's really nice as well for a back row deck. I like it. There's not much else to say here. It's a quick effect, so even if you never searched it out, your opponent still wouldn't know you had it, so they could still try to Lightning Storm, have your Harpies Feather Duster you, whatever, and then you could punish them by plopping this card down on the field. And then Vesiculo. Vesiculo is fine. She's kind of just another name. I keep hearing people say that, like, trust me. They're like, trust me, play it. It comes up in weird scenarios and it'll save your Heine. Hasn't happened for me yet, but I've also done very minimal testing so far. So just a one-up for me for those types of scenarios that people seem to think will come up. But if I play it enough and it doesn't come up, I'll cut it out for sure. So that is it for the TRAPTRIX monster lineup. That's 14 of them things. Only other extender I play is 2 copies of Paraloxide. I didn't want to go all in and play 3 copies of this. Just because, like, I think it's okay, but I don't want to oversee it, because I do think there are ways you get punished for playing a card like this. But the idea is, you know, specifically going first and even going second, allowing us to pretty much apply a lot more pressure to the board by just, like, threatening your opponent with an immediate rank 4. You know, just making Sarah so easy in this deck. So, you know, plopping this guy down and getting you a Rafflesia to protect you from Nib early in your combo, or threaten your opponent with, you know, some kind of rank 4 are both very useful. So we'll take it. And the last monster cards we play in the main, bringing us out to 20, is triple copies of Ash, 1 copy of Droll, and Lockbird. So Ash is great. Obviously, I think Ash is one of the best hand traps in this format. It's not amazing versus everything, but it's either decent versus everything or actually legitimately good versus some things, like Branded. And then Droll. I think Droll's fine right now. Other than, like, Labyrinth, I think it's actually quite good overall in the game right now. So just as a one-up, this is like quite literally the 40th card in the deck. I wasn't sure what to play as a last card that didn't feel weird. I'm definitely open to suggestions on, like, other tech cards that you think could fit certain slots here, like a 1-of to a 2-of that might be good, because I definitely have some wiggle room there. But yeah, still wanted a defensive card there for that slot. Moving on to the spells. The only spells I play is 1 copy of Trap Garden and 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. So Prosperity is really the only pot the deck wants to play. You could technically get away with the Desires, but you really need to make some harsh calls on what trap holes you want to play and probably play multiples of them, which I don't love. I like having the versatility. Plus, I just think this finding a starter, finding a board breaker, finding a whatever, you know, whenever you need it is just so useful. It may be like the single best card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. And the last one is Trap Trip. This card's really cool. Gives you the additional normal summon. It can banish any monster on your field to summon a TRAPTRIX monster from hand or grave. That's a really useful. You can actually just get nibbed and like tribute or banish the token to just summon like a TRAPTRIX back from grave, which is so funny. I actually like that a lot. You could even nib your opponent and then use that to like send your nib to summon like Pudica from grave and then banish the token and it doesn't come back. Or against like the adventure engine, like get a banish on token so they're not coming back, which is really, really nice. But yeah, really, really good card. Also gives battle protection for stuff like Sarah, which is very nice as well. Always one of the weaknesses for the deck over the past, pretty much since its existence. All right, then we move into our trap hole lineup. This is very, very important. We have the new trap card, in my opinion, the most impactful card we got from the support, TRAPTRIX Holusha. This card is amazing. It's essentially Shade Brigandine for the archetype, but it's uber searchable. You can search it off Mermelio. You can set it off of Sarah. If you pitch it to grave, you can set it back off of stuff like Dianea. You have super easy access to this card. It activates the turn it's set by pitching any normal trap card, and it can even quick effect on a later turn, banish itself from grave to reborn a TRAPTRIX monster. That's amazing, especially now that we have like Pudica and Merm in the deck, to be able to get like a pop on a back row or a banish, a Farfa-esque effect, like as a quick effect is so awesome. So this card helps in the grind. This card helps you like play, you know, so much. This card is so good. No complaints on this card at all. But on top of that, we have the basic trap holes, right? Floodgate, really good at flipping stuff down. Great versus cash. Great right now overall. One copy of Time Space. I like this one because it actually, you know, maybe the best one to apply towards something like Branded. When they make a fusion, being able to just put it back so they're not floating off of it as well is pretty nice. Plus there's other matchups too. It's not bad against cash because it also shuffles back monsters that are summoned from hand. So again, kind of just answers a cash monster that plops down. Terrifying Trap Hole Nightmare, the new one. This card pops a monster that's 2,000 or more, and then potentially banishes a monster from grave as well. I also like that this card interacts better than a lot of the other trap holes. This one doesn't have to be triggered by a specific summon. It can actually just fire whenever, as long as your opponent has special summon that turn. So that's really, really nice. It has other restrictions, but I do feel that interactive ability is something that the deck has kind of been missing for a while. So I definitely appreciate that as well. And the last card is Gravediggers. You have to play this. Oh, I'm sorry, not the last one, the second to last. You have to play this card because it keeps you from getting nipped, right? So if you're going to make Rafflesia, you know, on your 4th or 5th summon, this card's going to protect you from getting nibbed. And then also, sorry, TRAPTRIX, Trap Hole Nightmare. Also play this one. This one's like pseudo Solemn Strike. It's like really bad Solemn Strike overall, but because you can access it by making like Rafflesia or searching it out, it is still pretty nice. Just negates a special summon monster's effect the turn it's special summoned and destroys it. So a lot of different ways to interact with different situations, and that's what I like because I want to keep making Rafflesia. I want to access these once I know the matchup for whichever one is best, and I like having the versatility there. Obviously, they're not always going to be great in every matchup, but for the most part, they should all apply in some way or another to a matchup. Just some are going to tend to be a little bit better than others at certain times. The last of the traps and finishing up the main deck, triple Imperm, triple Evenly, and double Gozen, bringing us down the stretch here. I love Imperm. I think Imperm is just okay in the format overall. I think it's just a decent hand trap. But I do love that it has really good synergy with the deck, being able to trigger Sarah, and not just trigger Sarah, but trigger Sarah at any moment because this can just fire as long as your opponent has a monster on field, essentially, is really nice to like trigger Sarah exactly when you need to and want to. And also the deck doesn't have a ton of negation, so being able to like add another layer of negation on top of just the uber removal the deck has pairs really nicely. Evenly Matched, this is your high impact card. I really like having this in the main. A lot of people are maining this right now because it's not a super negate heavy format. And being able to like rip this off of a Prosperity can be super, super huge for sure, especially in the main deck. So like game ones you can just steal because you have access to this. And the last card is Gozen. I wanted a defensive card here. I would have been okay with more hand traps, but I didn't have another hand trap I liked as much as Ash and Imperm in the deck, to be honest. So I'm with Gozen. I feel like it's a card that can still apply going second in a lot of scenarios, but also stuff like Cash just cannot do much under this card. I know Fenrir's an out, but like all we need is anything for Fenrir and the game is over, pretty much. So yeah, this is quite strong. I definitely don't hate it. And other matchups too, it's pretty good against. You even have ways versus like Branded to like lock them into lights if they're not careful. So I like that a lot. So that's 40. Obviously not a perfect 40. There's a couple things here and there that like I definitely am open to suggestions on, whether it's ratios for some of the engine stuff or, you know, tech cards that could take the spots of some of the stuff I'm trying right now. I'm definitely open to that. But let's move into the extract and finish up here. 2 copies of Sarah for the links. 1 Kularia, 1 Ossa, and 1 Adipus. Sarah's really nice. I don't think you need 3. I think you could play 3 if you want, but I also think there's a lot of utility spots in the deck that I kind of want to fill with certain cards, so I don't know if I really want to play 3 that way. Plus, we have ways to get it back, like the field spell can get it back, the trap, Holusha can get it back. There are ways to get her back on field, so it's not the end of the world. Kularia is very nice, though. A cool grind card. Again, not a super mandatory one, but like it's nice. Being able to just like reborn a TRAPTRIX monster every one of your end phases, and it keeps your trap holes from ever going to grave, which is nice. Ossa also kind of doubles as a couple things. It's kind of like an out to stuff like Ibli, right? Because it has 1 generic material. And also versus stuff like Kashtira, being able to like take their unicorn from their graveyard and like attack them with it to banish a card, and then it's just another interruption. That's a pretty highly played card right now that has pretty significant impact, so I like that quite a bit. And then the last one is Adipus. This is the new card. Being able to like negate monsters, pop monsters, and just give 1,000 to all TRAPTRIX monsters allows you to like really clear out messy board states and just kind of go in for game. This card facilitates a lot of OTKs for sure. Then for Exceeds, for the TRAPTRIX, 2 Pingucula, it's a new one, 2 Rafflesia, and 1 Alomerus. So Pingucula is incredible. It searches a TRAPTRIX monster straight up, which is really good. It's 2,500, which I love, and it even has like a pseudo interruption effect. It's way better during tier format because it kind of like kept tiers from triggering, but or resolving at least. But it's still a pretty cool effect. And then Rafflesia, this card just copies any trap hole effect. So being able to use like Gravediggers to protect yourself from Nib, or just use any of the 5 different trap holes we have in the deck right now to just hit your opponent with any type of interruption you want out of those, is really, really nice. You can pick the one that's the most impactful. And then Alomerus, this just reborns a TRAPTRIX monster from grave, essentially, facilitating OTKs or just triggering like a Murmelio again. It's really, really nice and powerful. And the last Xyz we play, 1 Redoer. I like this card a lot. When you're not really, I think when you're like going first and you're not really sure, like maybe you weren't able to like, not necessarily nib, but I guess more stuff like evenly matched. If you're going to get evenly, this is a really nice card to have because 1, you could have easily ripped a spell off your opponent's deck to draw a card, but also it tags out. So even if we do get evenly, he's coming back, which means we could threaten our opponent with the Zeus line. We could hit, you know, and then we could get more spells. We keep drawing cards, and he helps us in the grind even after we've been evenly to still have a chance at winning a duel. And I really like that for a deck that's considered a trap deck, to have ways to hedge your bets against like evenly and stuff like that. That's really popular in the format. I like Tornado as well. I just think this comes up, you know, Murmelio pops back row, but I'd like to have, you know, other ways to do that as well. So Tornado is great for that. Baguska and Dweller. I will say this, right now, I would prefer cutting Dweller for Evil Swarm Exciton Knight. I don't have him, my copy right now. My buddy has it. So I would consider doing that. There are formats where obviously Dweller's like insane. Right now is not that time. So I think I would prefer having the Exciton Knight, because even though we have Zeus as the last Exceed in the deck, this card, still just being able to make this immediately, can catch a lot of players off guard. People are not going to expect Exciton Knight a lot of the time, because they're thinking, oh, he has to make a rank 4, and then as long as I stop the rank 4, he can make a Zeus. And so but the rank 4 being the pseudo Zeus can sometimes be a problem because they won't be ready to deal with it in the right way just yet. Like if they don't have negation, you'll be able to Exciton Knight and wipe the board, and that can be pretty powerful. So I would definitely swap that. And to be honest, this feels right. And then obviously Zeus, we can make this really easily. Yeah, I mean, it's really cool. I mean, this deck is in such a cool place. It's so much more mid-rangey than it was before. It used to be like so trap heavy, right? You were setting everything and going from there. You were setting 4 or 5 and like making a Sarah and saying go. It had bigger weaknesses back then, but I think those weaknesses are covered up a lot nowadays. It has better follow-up. It has stronger in archetype plays consistently, turn 1, and even going second. It's way better. So I like the deck a lot. I think it's a really solid rogue deck going into the next format. I definitely want to test with it more. Like I said, let me know your thoughts down below. If you have any suggestions, I'm open to those. But I'm out of here for today. Thank you so much for watching as always, guys. I will see you in the next video, the next deck profile. I love you. Peace.